ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome to the stage Mr. William Shatner.
What a crowd! Thank you. Please sit down. You know, I come out here and the picture you saw earlier, 40 years ago, and then I come out, people say, "Where's Shatner?" This is Shatner. So I received a notice today that the strike that the Screen Actors Guild has been on for 119 days is over. And all those people who were starving, well, no, I mean, the people on the picket lines weren't making any money, and they weren't making much money to begin with, so they were really suffering. So they'll go back to work now, and that's great. But another reason, yes, but that's the last time you'll do that. He says with a steely glare. But the other reason it's wonderful is before starting this 5-city tour in Florida that I'm doing, I consulted with the union because I wasn't going to breach any picket lines. And they said, well, okay, go and do it, but you can't say Star Trek. I'm going to talk about this Star Trek movie. You can't say Star Trek. And another thing, you can't say Captain Kirk. What am I going to talk about? The fishing and no. So what I did was, I thought, well, if I can't say Star Trek and I can't say Captain Kirk, I'll have to kind of be devious and expect that you, the audience, will understand what I say. And that movie, you'll understand what I'm talking about. But then I thought, that's kind of, why don't I do something else that would be appealing? And I thought, technology. The reason the strike was on was technology. AI. Artificial intelligence was reproducing the actor's image, and then they have machines that talk for you, and they sound like you. There were times is that me? Do I talk like that? And so the fear of artificial intelligence and a few other things, streaming and other, the whole technological horizon, existence of today is changing. United Auto Workers went out for the same reason, artificial intelligence, and the fear that computers are taking over our jobs, and they are, and they were, and they will. The whole new world is happening. There's a race between our existential ability to stay alive in global warming and technology, which got us into it in the first place and can get us out of it if we're smart enough. So that was the problem, the technology problem. So I thought, well, I'll talk about technology. I know. I'm an actor. But here's what I know. That thing we carry around with us all the time, this omnipresent telephone that we carry with us, is technology. That technology has changed everything. It's changed our existence. It's changed our ability to vote. It's changing everything. This little thing, this technological thing. In World War II, there was a building, Benchley, was that where they broke the Enigma code, was Benchley something or other in England, a large building. And they broke the German code because they had a computer the size of a building. And it won the war. That phone, it can do what Benchley did 75 years ago. The phone. Shh. Because you're making less sense than I am. So I thought the phone is the basis of all our ills. The phone must have heard me. Because I'm in a hotel room. I'm ready the next day to go on stage, and I leave a wake-up call. I'm not going to go to call the front desk, because they're notoriously forgetful. They don't care if they don't call you to make an airplane or get up in the morning. Oh, hey, sorry. Maybe you'd like a cup of coffee free. I missed my airplane. I know. So I put my wake up, my alarm on the phone. Not only that, I travel a lot. So I don't want to look ahead. Oh my God, I've got to do that tomorrow, tomorrow, the day after. I just stay in the day, which means that I've got an airplane ticket in my phone, and I don't know where I'm going until it's time to leave for the airport. Oh, that's where I'm going. So I don't freak myself out. So I'm getting up to go to bed, and I'm going to plug my phone in to charge it, and it won't charge. Uh-oh. So I look at it more closely, and you know the old thing, close the phone and reset it. It won't close. I can't turn the phone off. And when I try that, I can't turn the phone off. The phone has given me the finger. Technology is rebelling in front of me. I've got this phone that, just like some child with a tantrum, won't do anything. And I'm really screwed, because I don't know where I'm going. I don't know what time to get up. I've got to outthink the computer. Eh? Huh? Okay. So what would you do? Use the human intelligence. I know what I'll do. I'll turn the flashlight on, burn the battery out, and the phone will stop, right? And then you can reset it. So I turned the flashlight went on. And I put the flashlight down on the nightstand, got into bed, ready, 15, 20 minutes. Every 15 minutes, I wake up. The flashlight was still on. 2 hours. The sleep that I had allowed myself, I needed to sleep, and I kept looking at this, and finally it went out, I plugged it in, and it worked, okay? I beat the phone. Now, exactly, now, I've got a book out there. Oh, by the way, I forgot to tell you, or anybody, I'm up for a Grammy. The audio book of this book, what's the name of the book? Boldly Go, is up for a Grammy. But Boldly Go is about 75% what I think. And the other 25%, I know it's bullshit. Everything you say is bullshit, unless you're dealing with the forces of nature, and you know that gravity is going to drag you into, if you're up in space, and you're going to, there's no argument about that. But everything else, like technology, I think I'm right about it, but maybe I'm wrong. So I think the universe is taking care of me in some mystical way. I really believe 75% that the universe is taking care of me. I mean, I go to a crowded restaurant and somebody pulls out from the curb, I get a parking spot. I've been, and then terrible things have happened to me and my family, like everybody else. I mean, life is filled with hardship, and you've got to sort of mediate between the hardships and the glory of living. And so you got to kind of shuttle between. So I'm no different. Terrible things have. One member of my family got breast cancer, stage 4. She's dead. No, not quite. The chemistry, the thing, the fun, and suddenly, not suddenly, over several months, she's better. But the family coalesced around her, expressing their love and devotion and their need of the family. Suddenly it brought the whole family together. A miracle. So out of the bad comes the good. So along those lines, I get a notification from a company called Hologram. So Hologram says to me, we'd like you to be a member of the company because we've invented a way of transporting you, your image. We can transport you, Bill. Would you like to be a member of the company? I go, wow. Beam me in. And they beam me in. So I said, yes. And they said, okay, now we're all together. Well, you know, what'll we do? And that week, I get a telephone call from Adweek. They're having a symposium in Australia, at Sydney. Would I come and talk? I said, no, I can't come and talk. All those hours flying, and I just was in Australia. I was on a summer program this year called Celebrities on Mars. Nobody. See, that's what happened. It's off the air now because you weren't watching. So I was in Australia, in Cooper Pedy, where the opals come from, 500 miles into the outback. When I landed, I saw people waving at me. I thought, wow, that's really, they weren't waving at me. They were brushing the flies. Because some years ago, Australia imported camels, then the heavy lifting was done with the camels. They turned the camels out into the outback, into the desert, where they belong. And they multiply. There's 1 million camels that don't belong in Australia, and they all carry flies. And so shooting in the outback of Australia, where you go, and now, so I want to, I turned out, I hate fly. When I was leaving, there was one fly in the car on my way to the airport. I got crazed! Kill that! No, don't kill that fly. Crazed. So I wasn't going to go to Australia. And then I said, look, wait a minute. The universe is taking care of me. I've just joined a company called Hologram. What happens if I beam into your Adweek symposium? That's great, that's better than you coming here. So now we set up the whole thing, the technology of beaming in, and it's not too complicated, it's just electrical stuff, and we rehearse it. I said to the person operating, can you kind of fuzz me in like I'm having a problem beaming? Oh yeah, I could do that. So we got it all planned, okay? And they've got a beautiful young lady as the master of ceremony, and now she introduces, and now, everybody at Adweek got a special surprise. William Shatner is going to beam in. and the technology doesn't work. There's 17 people over here, because I'm on a stage in the San Fernando Valley, beaming into Sydney, Australia, and all the owners, the brass of the proto-hologram are there watching the snood. And they all put their thumbs in, they were sucking their thumb when this thing wouldn't work. This was their big moment. And technology, like my phone, had given us the finger. Well, they figured it out, and it was a success, and it was written about. So I beamed in, and so the universe is like taking care of me. Really, I can now talk about the movie. So let me tell you a story that's partially conjecture. Just a little tiny bit. But mostly I know this to be fact. So that year, whatever it was, 70 or something, really, no, 80. Star Wars. No. What are you talking about? Star Wars. There you go. Well, that's a boil on it. Okay, so Star Wars makes its advent, and it grosses $1 billion. And that's 20th Century Fox, and they made a fortune. Now, at Paramount Studios on Melrose Avenue, around an executive table, I picture a half a dozen executives. And it really doesn't matter because every 2 or 3 years the executives leave and some other executives come. The transition from one group operating the studio to another was so rapid because unless you made money, unless you guessed right about the movie you were making, you were out. So these people sitting around the table, it's been about 6 years since Star Trek was part of Paramount, they had no idea about Star Trek. When somebody said Star Wars, what did they do? So enough of that. So they had no idea about Star Trek. They said, what do we got? We must have something in the studio that could equal the power of Star Wars. And I think there was a little guy delivering coffee. They were saying, you know what you gentlemen should talk about. Here's yours. And yours with the milk. And yeah, they had this thing they called Star Wars about 6 years ago, and they had that wonderful actor Shatner. And maybe that's something you gentlemen should look into. Star Wars? Star Wars? Star Trek? Star Trek? Let's make Star Trek! We'll call it Star Trek the movie. We'll hire Robert Wise as the director. Robert Wise was the producer at that time. He had just made West Side Story. He was famous and well known and an artist. And this I know to be true. He goes home to Millicent, his wife, and he says, Millicent, they've asked me to direct this thing called Star Trek. And I don't know, Millie, I don't think I'll do it. She says, are you kidding? It's my favorite show. Bobby, you have to direct it. He says, okay. And he decides to direct it. So he directs this movie. It's got an interesting science fiction thesis. The machine is alive. They send this probe out into space, and it's alive, and it's captured by a civilization of mechanical things which are alive. And they send, they repurpose, they find how the machine left and where it's going, and they follow it back and they attack Earth. That's an interesting concept. And so he makes the movie, and it's delayed by all kinds of things. so that there isn't much time to edit the movie. Now, editing is huge. It's like rewriting. You write something and then it needs to be rewritten. Well, editing is about what happens in a movie. You get this sprawling thing, and then you choose and you select, and you build the scenes through editing. And Robert Wise was a great editor, but there was no time. Doug Trumbull, who did the special effects, just made all kinds of special effects, expecting it to be edited. It was never edited. It was just placed in the film. So now we're all sitting in a theater in Washington, D.C. The movie is premiering in Washington, D.C., and the film arrives at 5 o'clock in the evening from Hollywood, and they string it up, and now at 7:30 they play the film. And the film is okay. Star Trek, the movie is okay. It made its money and did better than that, but it wasn't the billion-dollar thing of Star Wars! So, yeah. So they considered it a failure, okay? So the head of Paramount, and apparently this is true, goes home and he sees his wife and he says, honey, I'm not gonna do any more Star Trek movies. It's not making any money. No, we're not gonna make any more Star. And she says, what? Are you kidding me? She says to her husband, Star Trek is my favorite show. You've got to make more movies. And he says, okay, here's what I'll do. I'll give it to the television department and let them make it for more money. They'll do it well. And so that's what happened. That's the movie you saw, made by the television department. And so you could say the Me Too movement begat Star Trek. That fun?
Fantastic. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Right into the mic.
Oh man, I tell you what, it's such a great thing having you here with us this evening.
Thank
Hope
you.
you're enjoying Melbourne. I gotta ask you this. You talked about Star Trek and you talked about the movie and so on. Who was your favorite actor or your favorite co-actor with whom you got to work? Was there a favorite?
Well, there were a lot of cool people in that. You know, I wrote a book called Leonard, about Leonard Nimoy. Leonard Nimoy was the brother I never had. You know, talk about the universe. He was born in Boston, I was born in Montreal, and we were born 4 days apart. And he came from the same kind of family I did. His background was the same. He struggled in his early years the way I did. Nothing was ever given to him. He had to work for it, and he became this wonderful actor and slowly emerged and became popular. And he and I loved each other like brothers, and we went through divorce and death and penury and anger and love in all its multitudinous ways, and formed a deep, deep friendship. And so I loved him. And this book that I wrote a couple of years ago also talked for a moment, because I was left with a puzzlement when he died. He died of emphysema. And I vividly, right now, for example, I see myself in a large limousine with a group of other actors being taken from one set to one location to another location. And while we're driving along, everybody lights up and they're smoking. And I don't remember who was the first one. It might have been me. And I said, yeah, you know, my kids, every time I go to kiss them, say, oh, Daddy, you smell cigarette smoke. I'm going to give up smoking. And I throw a package out the window. And somebody else said, well, I'm not going to be governed by habit, or I'm going to get rid of it. So and of the 6 people in the car, 5 decide to never smoke again. And the only person who didn't decide not to smoke was Leonard. And Leonard died of emphysema. And I often think, You know, when you have a bad cold or you're congested, oh God, and it's awful. Imagine feeling your lungs filling up. You drown. You drown when you have OCPD, what is it? Whatever it is. It's awful. Can you imagine times when you're swimming and you swallow some water and you think, I'm drowning, what it would be like to sink and to flail around with such a desperation that you'll cling to a loved one and they'll drown too because you're so overtaken by your desire to exist. So Leonard died that way, and in the last 6 months of his death, he wouldn't speak to me. I couldn't communicate with him. So towards the end, when his family told me that he was near the end, I wrote him a letter of love and how much I cared about him and his family and all. And I don't know whether they read it to him or not, but that's how I felt about him. And I wrote a book. So that was Leonard. But you know, DeForest Kelly was a beautiful man. DeForest Kelly. DeForest Kelly was a Southern gentleman, and he was the epitome of a Southern gentleman. Those manners and that ease and that charm, and he was all that. And there was one moment with him that I'll never forget, and that is a guy by the name of Bear, B-E-A-R, had an archery factory business. Bear Archery. I know some of you nodding your head. Well, I became Fred Bear. I became acquainted with Fred Bear. So my interest in archery began when I was doing a Western, and I'm standing there, you know, where are the Indians? Where are the Indians? And the director says, okay, the Indians are going to make their presence known by an arrow will fly by your face and lodge itself in this tree. And they put a little tiny piece of tape on the tree. So that's where the archer. Is it a sharp arrow? Yeah, it's a sharp arrow. It's going to go it's going to go right by my face. Yeah, it's going to, I've got one face. I don't want to do that comedy thing, what's his name does, with an arrow coming out of one ear and out the other ear. I don't want to do that. It's funny once, and then you fall to the ground. That's not funny anymore. So the director says, no, we're going to string a wire from the piece of tape. We're going to string a wire along here to the archer who's over here, and we got a ring that goes on the arrow, and the arrow will slide along the wire and hit the tape. Oh, okay, that's pretty good. All right, I'm ready. And the director says, all right, ready, action! And, so cut! What's it? The wire broke. The wire broke. No, I said, we don't have time to fix the wire. Bill, this guy is a great archer. He doesn't need the wire. He doesn't need the wire. But why? What am I going to do? I mean, I don't get to one. No, we're gonna shoot it right now. Don't worry about it, Bill. He's and it hits the mark. I go after the shot. I say, my God, man, that was great. Can you teach me what you? Yeah. So I get lessons from the stunt guys who introduced me to Fred Bear, who introduces me to hunting with a bow and arrow. You know, in those days, hunting was accepted. I don't do that anymore. I'm philosophically against it, but in those years, hunting with a bow and arrow. So what Fred Bear taught me was to observe. To be observant. Where's the wind blowing from? Okay, I see the game there now. Be very quiet, silently move towards okay. Right? Okay. There's an audience out there. How'd that happen? Observe, said Fred Bear. Now you're wondering, what has that got to do with DeForest Kelly, the Southern gentleman? Yeah. See, I know intuitively, I know these things. So I would watch people come in the mornings, coming in a little bit hungover sometimes, and they'd go to the craft service table, which was loaded with food. And it was loaded with food from the management because they wanted the energy. They didn't care about whether you ate or not, or whether you were hungry. They wanted you to eat so you'd have energy for the morning and get all the work they could out of you. That's one of the reasons we struck. We want more food on the... So I would observe people coming to the craft service table. And I watched DeForest Kelly come in. Southern gentleman, come in for breakfast. There's DeForest. I bet he's gonna buy grit or get grits, right? Some grits, whatever you have with grits, honey, or whatever you have with grits. Because he's Southern, he's a Southern guy. He's gonna have grits. He doesn't have grits. You know what he has? A New York bagel. He goes to the pile of the bagels, picks up a bagel, cuts the bagel, puts the bagel in the toaster, presses the toaster, and then he's, I'm gonna eat a bagel. And you can see the joy in his body, waiting for the bagel to pop up from the toaster. Now, like everybody knows, that when you are with somebody in the small hours of the morning, it's quiet, silent, and you talk. And you say things that you wouldn't ordinarily say because it's, your tongue is loose. And what you really want is grits. No. You just talk more readily. So, Dee and I would hang out at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, some night shoots, and Dee would say, "Geez, Bill, well, I think I'm losing my mind." What are you talking about, Dee? No, I'm losing my mind. I can't remember. I got where my keys go. I can't remember people's names. I'm losing my mind. I'm losing my ability to memorize. And I said, Dee, for crying out loud, everybody loses their keys and can't think of the names. That's just very common. You're not losing your... No, Bill, I'm losing my mind. And if I lose my mind, if I can't lose the ability to memorize, what am I going to do about words? The words are my instruments. And if I can't remember words, Dee, calm down. You're not losing your mind. So he's looking at the bagels. And I see Leonard. And I say, Leonard, come here. Distract Dee. So Leonard goes to DeForest, my eye, you got something in my, can you take a look at my eye? And DeForest leaves the toaster, goes to attend Leonard. I pop the toaster, take the bagels. I go over here. And DeForest comes over. And I'm gonna eat a bagel. And the thing pops up, and there's no bagel. Damn it. I know I put a bagel in there. I know I put the bagel in there. He grabs another bagel. Now he cuts the bagel with anger, okay? He puts it in the toaster, presses it down. Now he's waiting. I'm going to eat a bagel. And I say to DeForest, to Leonard, distract. You didn't get it out of my eye, Dee. He goes over there. I go, I pop the bagel. I throw the rest of the bagel in my mouth, and I push it down. And I go over here, and I wait to see what he's going to do. And he comes back over, and he's waiting and waiting. The thing pops up, there's no bagel. There's no goddamn bagel! And he sees me go, and he says, "You son of a bitch!" He didn't talk to me for 3 days. And that wasn't the only time he didn't talk to me for 3 days. Another 3-day sequence went by. You know why? Dogs! Okay, so I have Doberman pinchers, okay? You put a hand on the haunch of the Doberman, you stand there, you're regal, the dog is regal, that's a dog! A Chihuahua's a rat! So he had a Chihuahua. So he comes one morning to the makeup room and she's crying. What's the matter, Dee? My dog died. Your dog died? How? Well, I was walking him around the grass and he was running and he hit a sprinkler head and died. That's what I did. I started laughing. He didn't talk to me for 3 days. I loved him. He was a great guy. He didn't think much of me, though.
Oh, fantastic. I had the pleasure of spending a little bit of time with George Takei a while back. And of course, my wife and I got to know Nichelle Nichols, the beautiful late Nichelle Nichols.
Yes.
So I'm sure they're all very, very wonderful people. Hey, gotta digress a little bit. Everybody sees I got this notebook in my hand. I got all these questions that you guys submitted. No way we're going to get to them all, but there's one I debated on. I was going to throw it out. I'm thinking maybe I'll ask this. But it's from my friend Kim. You're from Canada.
Yes.
Kim is an artist. Kim is from Canada.
No
I can't
kidding.
believe Kim asked this question, and the question is, boxers or briefs?
Depends. Oh my God. Oh, I wish it weren't true.
Not yet, but yeah, I get it.
I know what you mean.
No.
But tell you what, on a different note, we're talking about Star Trek and we talk about the Rapid and the TV show and so on. Did anything weird or unusual ever occur on the filming of any of this?
Well, you know, a lot of stuff. Yeah, oh my God. It's funny that you should ask me about that. I was just thinking about that the other day. About the weird thing that happened on that movie. We were going to shoot, generally, almost always, we were on a stage with portable rocks and things like that, or the spaceship, and we were there the filming hours like were from 7 in the morning to 7 in the evening, so we were inside the whole time. On occasion, we would shoot outside, and generally, you can't be in a city, generally we'd go out to the point where the North American plate and the other one, I'm not quite sure what the other one is, abutting, where the Rockies are formed, okay? So tectonic plates are formed. And at that place where the seam of the two plates is Vasquez Rocks, we called it. And it's a place that's forlorn. I mean, it's really looks like a planet. So every so often we'd go out there. And the thing about going out to Vasquez Rocks was that sunlight was more important than anything. You had to have sunlight to shoot the film. So sunlight would start, say, at 7 o'clock and end at 7 o'clock in the summertime. So in order to amortize that whole expanse of going out there, you have to shoot every moment that you could in the sunlight. So they wanted you to get there early in the morning to be ready to shoot. The instant that sun came up, you shot, and then sometimes you'd run to higher ground to get the sun as it was setting. So they said, all right, so the director, we're going to be up to Vasquez Rocks tomorrow. Everybody be there at 4 o'clock in the morning. That means getting up really early, driving out there, and be ready to shoot at the 5 or 6, whatever it was. And everyone said, okay. And I said to the producer, wait a minute, why don't I take my wardrobe, the captain's uniform, and put it on in the morning, and then when I get to the set, I'll be all dressed. I'll save 15, 20 minutes. He said, that's a great idea. Do that. So that night, I took my uniform, and I took it home. And the next morning, when the alarm went off, I got dressed into my Star Trek uniform. And then I got into my car, and I drove along the freeway. And I drive fast. I drive fast. Recently, I was going from the Midwest, I was going from, I don't remember which city, but 400 miles I had to make that night. I was driving 100 miles an hour on the freeway, going from north to south, and nobody's on the road. And every so often a car would go that way, but I never passed anybody. And all of a sudden, there's a, I'm going 100 miles an hour, that's fine. So that time when I was doing that, the cop said, come into the police car. So I got into the police, opened the door, and the light would go on, and the cop would look up and say, oh shit, Shatner. And let me go. 3 times that happened. They must have wired ahead. Shatner's driving 100 miles an hour, and they will, no shit. Became a violent. So now I'm speeding along the freeway, 4 o'clock in the morning, I'm going 100 miles an hour. I drive fast because I've learned to drive fast. I've done all those celebrity races in the streets of Long Beach and all that. I did a lot. I think I did one in Miami even, and I would get pretty, I didn't win necessarily, but I came close. I wasn't embarrassed because I drive fast. And so in order to be in those races, you had to go to school for a weekend. Danny McCarty by Willow Springs up there at the racetrack. And, you know, slow in, fast out, limits of adhesion. If you're going too fast, and too fast depends on the car and the tires, and you turn, because frequently there's a straightaway and a right-hand turn, so you got to brake and make a right-hand turn, and you got to play it right, because if you brake too soon, other cars pass you by. If you brake too late, the tires scrub and you go in a straight line. And Donny Osmond did that, and they show film on him what not to do. Here is Donny Osmond losing the limits of adhesion and running up a telephone pole. Do not do that. So I learned to drive faster. I was even asked to be in a NASCAR race. Now NASCARs are different than the smaller cars that go around slowly and fast. NASCARs are these powerful American cars with a dam, an air dam, over the trunk. So the air flows over the hood, over the cabin, and then down onto the trunk and compresses the back end so that the faster you go, the more you stick. It just is not, it's counterintuitive. Everything I learned is go slow in, fast out. No, go fast in and faster out. I couldn't get past that. So that there's like 10 cars with celebrities, 3 celebrities to a car. The first thing that you had to do was get rid of one person in the car. So that meant whoever, the 2 who go the fastest, the 3rd one was out, because there were only 2 people to a car. So now I'm in a car with 2 other celebrities, and they're all 6'2", 6'3", so they pulled the chair way back. And for me, because I'm only 6'1", they put a pillow behind. Now it's 1 o'clock in the morning. The windshield is dirty, and now you got somebody had hit 191 miles an hour going around. Some other people had banged up against the cement parapet there and ruined $500,000 car. Now I'm going around. And I can't get past slow in, fast out, slow in. I gotta go faster. I gotta go 193 miles an hour to be part of the team. And so I thought, hell with it. I've taken judo and martial arts. And there is a thing called releasing your key. Your key's like just below your belly button. And in order to break a brick or boards, you focus all your energy and you and it breaks. Everything crumbles in front of you because you've got your key. All your energy is pointed in that one direction. I know about that. So I'm thinking, I'm going around this curve. I've got to release my key. That's what I'll do. I'm coming around, and there's cameras everywhere, because it's a television show. Cameras everywhere. Okay, and 100. Yeah! And as I pass by the place where everybody is, you did it! You did 194 miles an hour, you're great! But I had crossed the white line down there, so I was disqualified. That's what I said. So now I'm watching the show some months later, the film of the race. And I said to my wife, here's where I released my key. I come around, I can see myself pushed down on the accelerator, and then I see myself releasing my key. Except on camera, it came out. So I'm driving along 100 miles an hour, and I pull over. Now the California cops, the patrol cars there, the chips, highway patrol. I don't know about the Florida guys. Highway patrol, they're a little sketchy. Florida. But if you were to compare the California patrol cars, they're dressed like they were designed costumes. They've got the boots, they got the joggers, they got the tight shirt with the thing. They've got that great hat, eh? And our guys wear sunglasses at night. So this cop pulls me over, and he says, "Get out of the car." Get out of the car. Gee whiz. So I get out of the car, and I stand around, move around, and I face him. And he's looking at me, and I don't know what he's thinking, because he's wearing dark glasses. And he looks at me up and down. I'm in the captain's uniform. And he says, "Where do you think you're going so quickly? It's this early in the morning." And I realized I'm up for a felony. I'm going to jail. Okay. So I figured, to hell with it. I'm all in. I said, "I'm looking for my spaceship, okay?" He looks at me for a moment and hands me back my driver's license. And I start to and I don't want to go like that, because that means you're guilty. So I go back to my car, and I turn around to look at him, and he's gone to his patrol car, and he's over here. Then he turns and looks at me. I don't know what he's thinking. The glasses. Then all of a sudden, he raises his right arm, gives me the Vulcan salute, and says, "Live long and prosper." Is that unusual?
Absolutely.
Oh my God.
Fantastic. Hey, a couple of questions. You've played many characters on television.
That was 4 minutes. I've done 3 minutes.
But who was your favorite? Was there one? Was it somebody says Denny and somebody says Captain Kirk? Was there a favorite? Barbara Coates.
Right out of my youth. You know, I don't think that way. I think, like tonight. Are you having a good time?
Absolutely.
See, I'm probably having a better time than you guys. I mean, It's fun. It's great. I'm just bruised my mouth there.
Martial arts.
Right. Yeah. The blood is flowing out. I'm just having a great time this evening, entertaining and telling and trying to be informative and amusing, and everybody's laughing, and we're all having a good time. And this is my favorite moment.
You know, along those lines, I remember reading one of the questions from the audience ahead of time. When you were a young man, a kid, did you ever envision you would be where you are today? And if you could give some advice to a younger William Shatner, what would it be? A little bit philosophical here.
Well, I know nothing. I mean, I really don't know anything. You're supposed to, the older you get, let me be wise and tell you, my dear, what you should do. Nobody knows anything. Nobody, that's the truth that you learn. That not only is it you that doesn't know anything, nobody else knows anything. Nobody else knows. You can't, when you're young, you can't go, oh, surely my father, and the president must know something, and the old priest, they must know something. They don't know anything. They're guessing the way we're guessing. All you can do is say, well, I don't know, here's what I would do if I were in your situation, this is what I would do. But it doesn't apply to you, because I don't know what you like and what you do, and maybe you can run faster than me, so, you can't give advice. I don't know how for example, this computer and AI thing. So, this same company, Hologram, does chat boxes. And they gave me a chat box about that high. You press a button, you can ask it any question and it answers. And it's incredible, chat box. So, my question has always been about AI and things like it is, how do you teach a computer morality? How can we program these mechanical things that have the possibility of taking over our lives? How do you program them to begin with morality? And then the question also applies, what is morality? Because being moral changes wherever you are. And not only wherever you are, but each individual. For example, I don't know whether this tribe still exists in the Sahara, but I remember reading about a particular band of nomads in the Sahara Desert, whose tribe had as its morality that if you couldn't contribute to the benefit of the tribe, you had to leave. So old people who got too feeble to contribute to the well-being of the tribe took a hike into the desert and was gone. And that was moral for them, not for us. But in terms of their existence and their ability to exist on the edge of extinction, that if you didn't contribute, you had to go. That was their morality. Well, imagine teaching that to a computer. So what morality do you teach a computer that it won't hurt us? Isaac Asimov had his rules. Thou shalt not hurt a human being. Well, what does that mean, hurt? And when do you hurt? When it's necessary? Do you fight back when somebody harms you? Or do you allow them? Do you turn the other cheek and they slap you around? What is morality? And how do you teach a child? How do you teach a child morality? And after a lifetime with the child of teaching the child morality, and they turn against you or the morals that you taught, what's the explanation of that? And can a computer, having learned the rules of morality that I don't know how you teach, can it turn against you? So there's so much that's unknown out there. There's so much to learn. There's so much wisdom that is needed. And in my poverty-stricken mind, I don't know what wisdom is. That's my answer.
That is an incredible, thought-provoking answer. Thank you so very much for that. I tell you, it leaves all of us something to consider as we go along, and with all of the AI stuff that's happening. It's a benefit, but it's also scary.
Yeah.
And answers we just don't.
And you know who this is, right? You know this is a remarkable astronaut who's spent a lifetime guarding our country, or your country, and mine, which is Canada.
Well, thank you so very much for that.
We're doing as best we can guarding our country, but thank God for you.
Thank you so very much. Well, we're partners. I think when you talk about morality, I think our two countries have the same fundamental moral values.
Absolutely.
And that's very, very good.
Right.
But along this same line, I've got to go here because our time is starting to grow short. You had the experience of a space flight here recently. Of the new shuttle. And I know that everybody in the audience is just like me. I'd love to just throw an open-ended question to you about your experience with your solo space flight.
You know, I'm again feeling the inadequacy of the situation. We're talking to an astronaut. I am a half-astronaut. Well, I tell you, the experience I had was perhaps a little different than many others. Maybe not all, but I've never heard what happened to me expressed in exactly the terms that I now know. So, Blue Origin, which is the space arm of Amazon, and Jeff Bezos, who turned out, well, I had a friend of mine, a producer, Jason Ehrlich, and I called Amazon and said, we'd like to come up to Seattle. We have an idea. So we went up to Seattle, and Bezos met me in the lobby, and in the lobby of Amazon is the original spaceship, the original of our ship.
Your New Shepard, your ship.
No, nothing New Shepard.
Okay, I thought
The old Shepard, the one with the beard. No, my spaceship,
Yours was
the
the
Enterprise.
Shepard, yeah.
So the original model of the Enterprise, but God love you, you're dealing in reality, and I'm dealing in fantasy. So in the center of their enormous lobby is the Enterprise under a globe, and it turns out that Jeff Bezos is a fan of Star Trek, which he talks about imbuing him with the ambition to do what he's done. And so we talked about my going up on the spaceship, the first ride of the spaceship, and then we left, and COVID hit, and a year later they announced that Jeff Bezos, his brother, a female astronaut, whose name I don't know, and a young man are the four people going up in the spaceship. So I said to Ehrlich, my friend, I said, well, that's it. I guess we've lost it. Up goes Jeff Bezos, he comes down, and you know, a fair amount of publicity, and it was over. Then they call and said, would you like to go up second? And I said, second? Second? Do you know who you're talking to? You wish to put me second? Okay, I'll go. Well, I wasn't quite as I thought about it. I a second. That's Kamala Harris, for God's sake. I mean, I'd rather have the president, right? You could have the president or the vice president. Which would you prefer to have, Tom? Neither. We're in Florida. Somebody said neither. Yeah. You're wrong. So I'm up here and you're down there, and I've got a microphone, so shut the fuck up. With your wife, mind that I use the F word. Has she heard it before?
She's fine.
Okay. So I said, so by that time, another book that I'd written about saying yes to life was popular, and I thought, I better say yes to life, I'll do it. So I agreed to go second. So they called me out on a Monday, and I arrived on a Monday thinking, I thought it was Tuesday that I was supposed to be out here. And they said, no, Monday, we wish you to be here. And I'm alone with a few other people doing various jobs, but no other astronauts. Where is it? Where they're coming to tomorrow? Why the hell am I here? What am I doing here? Why am I here a day early? I've got things to do. So about 11 o'clock that morning, somebody says, let's drive out to the gantry. Okay. So we get in a Rivian. It's going to be a really cool car. And we drive out to the gantry. So the gantry is 20 miles out there. This is all in Bezos, Texas land. And we're at 4,000 feet, almost like Denver. So those of you who've been to Denver know that the moment you get off the airplane or out of the car, you know, it's a mile high in the air. I'm looking up at the gantry. It's 11 stories up there. Oh, let's go up the gantry. All right, let's go up the gantry. I get up 3 flights. Oh, I'm sucking in air. I get up another 3 flights. I'm sorry. And finally, I make it to the 11th flight. And I look up and I see a cement room about the size of that part of the stage. And you could see the doors open. You could see the walls were like a foot thick of cement. I said, what's that? They said, it's safety room. Safety room? For what? And in case things go wrong. Well, what could go wrong? And then we make our way down. And I'm thinking, what was that all about? And then I realized what it was about. They were checking out to see if the old man can make it up 11 flights. Because in the real world, they have an elevator, right? No elevator here. Costs money. Let Shatner die of a heart attack. We're not going to put an elevator here. So then the rest of the group comes about on Tuesday, and we start to practice, you know, in actors' terms. We were rehearsing, and mostly what we rehearsed was hooking our feet into a ledge, and then the seat was prone, so you're lying back, and you got to strap yourself into a 5-point harness. Now, like I say, with all the cars that are driven in the 5-point harness, that's easy enough. Get on it, that's 5-point. But if you're prone, it's more difficult. I can't find the hole. Where the hell's it? And I never did get it, by the way. And now everybody's gathered together, and we're all in the spaceship. As we walked up, I could see emerging from the exhaust pipe, whatever you call it, the gas is venting, that's it. So the gas is venting, and I said, what's that gas? And they said, it's hydrogen. Hydrogen. I come from the generation the Hindenburg. Remember the Hindenburg and all those newscasts? Oh, the humanity of it! Screaming. And little figures are running away from what they now know, and I'm sure you knew this long before any of us did, was when they tied the Hindenburg off in New Jersey, it docks like a boat. It's a lighter than air spaceship or airship, and it's filled with hydrogen. And they had anodized the surface, so it was metallic. When they tied it off, when they moored it, static electricity went up the moor line, traveled across the metallic surface. Way in the rear was a leaky bag of hydrogen, caught fire, the whole thing consumed, people died, and it was the end of Zeppelin. All that lighter than air which you get across the ocean far faster than a ship, but with all the luxury of a ship, it was like a new way of going, suddenly died. And I'm looking at venting hydrogen. And I'm now walking up 11 flights of stairs and getting into the spaceship. And now we're in the countdown. T minus 28, T minus 19, T minus 18, hold it, hold the call, hold it, there's an anomaly. Anomaly. Let's see, what the meaning? Anomaly means it shouldn't be there. What shouldn't be there in the countdown? Like flaming hydrogen? Maybe that shouldn't be there. Okay, no, anomaly's gone. Continue the countdown. And now I'm going to tell you something that's the God's truth. Not that everything hasn't been the God's truth, but this is even more God truth. This is a God truth. The guy on the loudspeaker says, "All right, we're going to pull the metallic, the gantry. We're going to pull the gantry back. Anybody who wants to get off should get off now." I can't do that. I'm Captain Kirk, for God's sake. So I stayed with it, and up we lifted, and 4 or 5 Gs. Don't have to tell you about that, but you had a flight suit on, and air or water came up and compressed the blood back into your brain. I have a lot of empty space here, so the blood, the G's going up. Anyway, we're in weightless, and everybody gets out of their 5-point harness and floats around. Now, I had seen film of Bezos when he first went up. So the camera's there, and he's weightless, and he's floating on his stomach with his feet in the air. And the kid who's with him is throwing candies at his asshole. The miracle of space. So I swore when I saw that, I'm not going to do that. So what did I do? We're up, and they say weightlessness, and I turn back, and I see, and I don't know whether in all those magnificent airplanes you flew, that you could see behind you the wake of the air as a submarine goes through the water. Did you ever see that with your airplane?
You can't see
You
that.
can't see back that way. I'm in a window and I'm looking back and I'm thinking, my God, I've never heard anybody discuss the wake of the blue air. And then from there I turned forward and I'm looking at black space. Now, again, let me ask you. I have been mesmerized most, if not all of my adult life by the magic and the awesomeness of space and what it means and how it came about and how nobody knows, and the mysterious forces that are at work and the energies that and the history of, I know a lot about that. Well, I know something about that. I saw none of that. It was palpable blackness. When you're flying your airplane, did you see flying high like that? Did you see anything in space that smacked of what you can see from the Webb telescope?
No, because it's obscured by the brightness reflected from the Earth. That's why you only saw blackness. On the opposite side of the Earth, away from the sunlight, you turn off all the ambient lights, then the stars and everything in the heavens become visible. You can see it, but no, you couldn't see it.
So I couldn't see it. So what I was looking at was death. I'm looking at death, it's black. It's impenetrable, or it's penetrable, and you're swallowed up and you drown in the, I saw death.
Serious blackness.
Serious blackness.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm looking behind, and I see what you guys saw, which was the blue orb, the beige of the desert of Texas, the white of the clouds. And I saw the beginning of the curvature of the earth. I saw life, okay? That curvature of the earth was remarkable to me because in my lifetime, I've been across the United States numerous times. I hitchhiked across from Montreal to New York to San Diego to Vancouver to Chicago. I hitchhiked all over the United States when I was 18. In the continuing years, I've driven across in a truck. I've driven across in a sports car. I've driven across with a dog. I've driven across with the whole family. I've driven in every which way the unlimited roads of the United States. You can see the road disappear into the horizon. My God, that's so far. Then you get to where it disappeared, and it disappears again. It's endless. It's not endless. We live on this little rock. It's a little rock. And it's got 12,500 feet of oxygen. As a pilot, and I'm a pilot, not current, but I had to learn the rules. 2 miles of oxygen, and then you need additional oxygen. Because anything above 12,500 feet is a death zone. That's how small the things we're living on are. We're defiling, we're causing extinction at a rate that's only been known 5 times in the history of the world. We're polluting, causing extinction. And if you know anything about how intertwined life is, how it began in the amniotic fluid of the oceans, little one-celled things that became two, and the cells, instead of fighting each other, they combined together. And all those combinations of cells became algae, became grass, became trees, ultimately became us. We are not just part of, we're intertwined with this sacred thing called nature, and we're polluting it like ugly, unmannered, I don't even want to say animals because the animals do better. We're on the verge of the extinction of life as we know it. We're also on the verge of life unlike anything we've ever known. We're at the crossroads right now, today. We're at the crossroads. 2-3 years from now, maybe too late, maybe even less than 2 years. You in Florida know how close we are to disaster in many areas. We need to do something about it now. And that's the message I wish to carry to you. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so very, very much.